a day-to-day thing. A day-to-day thing. Rich dude. You think that I'd be happy if only I had this or that. And life would be so much better if I drove a Cadillac. Well, Elvis, he had it all. They say he was the king. But look how happy he was when he split.
Yeah, we need them. We need strategies. Strategies for living, that is. And if you're ready, here's your daily dose of Radio Rehab.
I like that.
Yeah, you like that?
Very inviting.
Yeah. Hey, folks, welcome. Welcome into 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Welcome into another edition of Strategies for Living. I'm Dr. David McMillan. She is PLPC Lauren Leon McMillan. He is Jimmy Bryant, PhD. That means he produces, he hosts, and he directs. So, Jimmy, Lauren, how many books do you guys read with the cover closed? Yeah.
A few.
A few?
A few.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Yeah. I like to practice.
Yeah,
with
well, yeah,
I like to play with my intuition that way.
I guess you do, but it's it can get kind of tricky, can it?
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of the same thing. Trying to read a book with the cover closed is somewhat, I think, analogous to understanding our own self-esteem. We spend a lot of time being our own worst critics, and we may not even realize that our self-esteem is actually taking quite a hit, as a matter of fact.
Interesting.
Absolutely.
But here's the deal. There are signs. There are some signs. They may be subtle signs, but there's signs nonetheless that can clue us to know what to look for. So we're going to talk about some of these subtle signs this evening, that your self-esteem may be lower than you realize. And if you recognize these signs, you can do something about it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, for a lot of us, we're not an open book, but maybe this will crack the book open a bit this evening on our self-esteem. How about that?
Okay. Sounds good.
All right, folks, thank you for tuning in to Strategies for Living. We appreciate you being here, and we appreciate our sponsors making it possible, the Robinson Film Center, and Azalea Cleaners, and Pintail Roofing,
Roof.
and Learning RX, and Hempress Cannabis with Love, and the Shreveport Little Theater. Subtle signs that your self-esteem might be lower than you think. We're talking about that today, right here on Strategies for Living. Stay with us.
Hi, this is Jay Merle for Pintail Roofing. Let's talk about quality. When you hire Pintail to build your roof, here's what you can expect. Quality and quality control are the most important concerns for us at Pintail, and you need to know that Pintail stands tall with swift and professional performance on any warranty call. This is our most important policy. And remember, we're your neighbors. We'll be here for you for the long haul. Our family's lived here for over 100 years, and we aren't going anywhere. On the commercial side of Pintail's business, our fluid-applied roofing solutions can save thousands of dollars over conventional commercial roofing options. Call Pintail at 226-ROOF for a free inspection of your home or commercial building. That's 226-7663. Pintail Roofing. What's the condition of your roof?
And welcome into 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Welcome into Strategies for Living. Jimmy Bryant and Lauren Leon McMillan, David McMillan. And we're talking, what are some subtle signs that your self-esteem may be lower than you realize? How about if we start
We got to start with what it is, I think.
Yeah, because I think, I said, it's analogous to trying to read a closed book.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it starts. There's a lot of confusion, I think, between, we say the word self-esteem a lot. I think in the last 20, 30 years, self-esteem has almost become one of those psychobabble words. And what I mean by that is we use it so much, and it is used so much, that the definition, what it truly is, becomes very cloudy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we mix up self-esteem
right.
and self-confidence
Yep.
and self-worth.
Okay.
And I think they're subtly different things.
I definitely agree on esteem and confidence. I'm interested to hear your take on the difference in worth.
Okay.
Because for me, self-confidence is situation specific, right? So I can be confident in my ability to talk on the radio.
Yeah.
I can be confident in my ability to paint a picture, right?
Right.
And so it's how much you trust your ability to do something specific,
Okay.
right?
All right.
Where
I agree with all of that.
Yeah.
I think self-worth is an external. It's a projection. So I think, and especially in this age of social media, I think we want to project out as we want to make ourselves look. I mean, the thing is, that's one of the things most of us do. Most of us don't post a bunch of negative things on social media about ourselves, right? We project out.
Yeah.
We project out, and we want. So self-worth, to me, is projecting out what I want the world to believe about me. And maybe even what I want to believe about me. But self-esteem
that's the truth.
is the internal. It's what truly is. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It's inside. Self-esteem is an
And I
inside
guess that's
thing.
why I hadn't even thought to separate them out, because in my mind, the healthiest thing is to have those two be the same, your self-worth and your self-esteem.
I think that's a great goal,
Yeah.
but I don't think that's the case. When you talk to people, and as we talk about these things this evening, that some signs, some subtle signs, I think that'll come out that those are not the same things. That even though healthy people would want them to be congruent, but in a lot of cases, I don't think they are.
Okay. So you're saying self-worth then is how much I feel that I am worth to others?
Yeah, and it's what I project out. It's what I want you to see.
Okay.
It's what I want.
But it's not truly how I feel about myself.
It may not be truly how I feel and congruent with what's inside of me. Self-esteem is what's inside of me.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So, I think that, again, that's why I'm saying it's kind of analogous to trying to read a book with a closed cover, because the first thing we got to do is open up and say, okay, well, what are we really talking about here? Yeah.
Yeah, and from your definition, almost self-worth and self-esteem can be very inverse, have an inverse relationship.
Yeah.
In terms of the higher my self-esteem is, the lower I need my self-worth by your definition to be.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
Exactly. So, I'm sorry if I confused you. And Jimmy, I'm sorry I was a little late today, and
Hey, I'm taking notes. I'm good.
Folks,
Don't you apologize to me.
I'm sorry that we're not doing a better program for you.
Whoa.
He's giving you
What's going on here?
He's giving you a sign here, a
Yeah,
subtle sign.
that's one of the subtle signs. Over apologize. The thing is, here's the deal. We all goof up.
Yeah.
We all goof up every now and again, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's just being human. And saying I'm sorry, that's the right thing to do. When you mess up, Say, I'm sorry. But do you know people who are apologizing all the time? It's kind of like, 24/7, 365 all the time, They're apologizing for every little thing. Oh, I'm sorry about the way I walked through that door. Oh, I'm sorry about the way I turned on the lights.
Or just in general as a rote response, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Almost like they're apologizing for their presence.
That's exactly right, Lauren. And, I know I'm overemphasizing this, but if you find yourself saying sorry, even when something is not at all your fault, or you're not responsible for something that you're constantly saying I'm sorry for, or you're saying I'm sorry for things that are outside of your control, that's a sign. That's a subtle sign that your self-esteem might be lower than you think it is. Yeah.
And I'll go ahead and give you a strategy for this one.
Okay.
If you catch yourself over apologizing, the practice first is to be aware, right? Just to recognize that, oh man, I'm apologizing. And what that does is it chips away at your self-worth because, like I said, you're over apologizing tells yourself that, you're sorry for even existing, right? For being who you are.
Yeah.
So if you can catch yourself either before or after your automatic I'm sorry response and just replace that with a gratitude. So instead of saying I'm sorry, say thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Somehow switch it to a thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's a wonderful strategy.
Like if you're late, instead of saying, oh, I'm sorry I'm late, you say, thank you for waiting for me.
Yeah, there you go.
Right?
Because over-apologizing can indicate that, you're doing the blame thing, but you're doing the blame thing on yourself.
Yeah, sure.
And, we don't want to do blame on anybody, including ourselves.
Especially
ourselves, and a lot of times that stems from feeling like, I'm just not good enough. I'm just always,
I'm in the way.
I'm wrong. I'm just totally wrong. So I think it's an important thing to pay attention to the habit. If you've got a habit of over apologizing, that's something that you really want to tune into. Remember, everybody makes mistakes. It's part of being human, but constant self-criticism is not healthy and it's not helpful.
Right.
And so it's time to cut yourself some slack and,
change it around.
Yeah.
Say thank you.
Yeah.
Just switch, you don't have to catch yourself on everyone, but if you can start switching to thank you.
Yeah, I like that. I like that strategy. All right, another one is to downplay your achievements. And, have you ever finished a project that maybe something that you're really proud of, and
it's nothing.
Yeah, your colleagues compliment you, and it's nothing. It's no big deal.
Right.
Yeah. I just got lucky. And that's an issue. That's a problem.
Again, that's a subtle self-criticism. Right?
Yeah. I mean, our achievements are a part of who we are. So downplaying those achievements is a sign of low self-esteem. If you're always, compliments, are you always brushing them off? Are you always attributing your success to luck or to somebody else? If that's the case, you might be struggling with some self-esteem issues. So when we have low self-esteem, we often feel very uncomfortable accepting praise. We don't think that we deserve it.
Yeah. It doesn't match up with your version of yourself.
Right. And again, that's that inside. Self-esteem is an inside thing. And so that that's a sign that, okay, I might want to take a look at that.
And for that one, practice accepting compliments.
Yes.
Practice tooting your own horn.
That's a great strategy. This
is one of those things that, if you're so used to putting yourself down, this is going to feel awkward, and it's going to feel, not right.
But your strategy of gratitude that you used in the last one would also work on this one.
Yes.
By accepting if you receive a compliment or someone notes something that you have achieved.
Right.
For you just to say simply, thank you. I really put a lot into that.
Yeah, and that's another good point that we say we give compliments, right?
Yeah.
So the last time you gave someone a gift and they say, "Oh, this is, I don't deserve this. This isn't,"
that's a great
right?
point.
How does
that is
how does
a great
that
point.
feel, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so just
and would you ever do that?
Right.
I mean, somebody offers you a gift and it's wrapped up and they give it to you.
And they spend a lot of time
and you
noticing the details.
And you say, "No, I don't deserve it," and you give it back to them.
Right.
I suppose that probably some people every now and again would do that, but not many.
Right.
And how would you feel if that were if you had prepared a gift and you tried to give it to somebody? Wouldn't that feel like rejection? Well, compliments and notes of your achievement, those are gifts.
Yeah.
Those are gifts given to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So don't reject those gifts.
No, appreciate them.
Appreciate them and
take them in fully.
Yeah. And again, that's a strategy, I think, to let them soak in, and instead of putting a block up and fighting them, just okay. Well, let me just marinate in this for a little bit.
And it's worth if in the practice it's really bothering you, I think it would be worth digging into. Okay, why? Why do I have such problems accepting compliments?
Yeah, what's going on inside of me?
Right.
And that may be something that leads me down a road that I want to investigate. We're talking about subtle signs this evening, subtle signs that your self-esteem, it may be lower than it needs to be, may be lower than you think it is. Talking about it here this evening on Strategies for Living. We've got more subtle signs and more strategies to come. Stay with us. It's been going on for 101 years now. I'm talking about the Shreveport Little Theater. Been enriching our lives through the performing arts and education and opportunities to volunteer service guided by professional artists. They've been at it a long time. And up next, beautiful, the Carole King musical is the summer musical this year. And have you seen the 24-25 season? My goodness. Neil Simon's Brighton Beach memoirs, Steel Magnolias, It's a Wonderful Life, Doubt, I Love You, You're Perfect Now, Change, and then May We All, a new country musical. You need to get your season tickets right now. ShreveportLittleTheater.com. It is American theater at its best at 812 Margaret Place in Shreveport. Shreveport Little Theater. ShreveportLittleTheater.com.
Reading begins not in the classroom, but in your child's brain. I'm Donisa Walker with Learning RX Shreveport. If your child struggles to read, maybe he or she has trouble focusing or comprehending, Learning RX Shreveport offers a science solution to reading problems, working one-on-one with your child, targeting his or her reading skills. Today, call Learning RX Shreveport. Make an appointment to have your child assessed. I know you want to help your child, so does Learning RX Shreveport.
And welcome back. Welcome back into 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Welcome back into Strategies for Living. Jimmy Bryant and Lauren Leon McMillan, David McMillan. We're talking about subtle signs. These are signs that your self-esteem may be lower than you realize or want it to be. And one of the signs we've talked about is over-apologizing. Another sign we've talked about is you downplay your achievement. Another, and we talk about this one a lot, and I think we talk about it a lot because it's important to talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
I can't do anything right. I'm such a mess up. What's wrong with me? Everything.
Yeah.
This is the negative
self-talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how many times do we catch ourselves think, with that kind of talking to ourselves?
You see, and that's the key there, to catch yourself.
I was going to say, more importantly, how many times do we not catch ourselves? Yeah. And that's where it really becomes a problem, because the negative, that we all have internal dialogue. We're all carrying on a conversation with ourselves all the time. Mm-hmm. And you want to ask yourself, is it positive? Is it neutral? Or is it negative? For a lot of us, it's negative.
Yeah.
And negative self-talk impacts so much in our lives.
Everything. It's the foundation.
Yeah.
I mean, it becomes the lens through which we see ourselves in the world.
Yeah. So it impacts our mood. Mm-hmm. It impacts what we think of ourselves and others around us.
Mm-hmm. Our physical
health, and of course our mental health. Mm-hmm. And emotional health. So if there's low self-esteem there, what this can do, what the negative self-talk can do,
you're feeding that.
Is it feeds it and it locks it in.
Yeah.
Talk about building a wall.
Right.
We can build a wall within ourselves, and we keep ourselves trapped, in that wall, making us feel worse and worse and worse about ourselves. So, we talk about this often. It's intriguing. We would not talk to our friends.
Right.
That's the people that we love.
Yeah.
We would not talk to them the way that we often talk to ourselves, would we?
Right.
Yeah. And so, and
I mean, this is a little extreme, but it's not. How would you talk to your dog? Right?
Well, a lot of people, spouses wish that their spouse would talk to them as
nicely
lovingly
as
and
do
nicely
the dog.
as you do the dog, But that's probably another program of couples counseling, right?
I bet it'd be interesting to do a study of people and how they talk to their dogs and how it relates to
their self-talk or their spouse talk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But catching and changing the patterns. Mm-hmm. I mean, again, these are patterns of thinking, and so they're habits, and so that's a strategy. Just tuning in is a massive strategy to begin to reverse this.
And again, I say this often, but it's about putting distance, right? It's about being able to go from why did I do that? I'm so stupid, to saying I'm having a thought that I'm stupid.
Yeah.
Where did that come from? Or is that helping me?
Yeah. And that subtle separation, Lauren, that subtle separation can be just, you ever got something wedged, and if you could just get a little,
just
get a little, this screwdriver head is very flat, but if I could just get in there, that would be enough to wedge it free. Mm-hmm. That's the way it is. Yeah. The next one is FOF.
FOF?
Yeah, FOF.
Okay.
Yeah. The next subtle sign that, your self-esteem might be lower than you realize is FOF.
FOF?
Yeah, FOF.
F-O-F?
F-O-F.
Okay.
Fear of failure.
Oh.
Yeah, fear of failure.
Yeah.
I think it's normal when we take on a new challenge, when we take on something, take on a project, or a task is before us. Mm-hmm. I think it's very normal to be a little bit nervous.
Right.
But I think we know the difference between a little bit nervous and being so afraid
that you get
failing
stuck.
that you just freeze, right?
Right. Or you run away, or you fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's FOF.
Yeah.
You avoid trying new things altogether. And that's a sign, that can be a sign of low self-esteem.
Yeah, and I think the key there for self-esteem, the connection there, is you're attaching your worth then to whatever the outcome is.
Yeah.
Of something else.
Yeah.
Which, is somewhat in your control, but for the most part, it's not.
No, because, so many things, we put forth effort, but then, there are other factors, other people involved, the larger situation.
Right.
We're not in control of everything. We're in control of what we put forth, what we do.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's about, if you could just shift your focus, on so many videos now, with people making art or doing their craft, they're letting you in on the secret, and they're saying, trust the process.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so if you can apply that to any new endeavor that you go on, just trust the process and enjoy the process.
Enjoy the process. That's all that's important. Yeah. 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 So FOF, this fear of failure, this fear can keep us stuck.
It's debilitating.
Yeah. And life is about risking. Life is about pursuing dreams, right? Mm-hmm. And so at least just, start with, hey, I know I can make a start at this. I know I can do this. Mm-hmm. I know I can have fun at this. And, okay, if I happen to, not succeed to the point that I want to succeed,
you can try again.
Try again. Yeah.
Try again.
It'll be a learning experience. And so, we say this, failure is an important part of growth. If we don't have failure, we miss out on lessons. We miss out on opportunities to grow and to improve. Mm-hmm. So if you find FOF is happening, fear of failure, if FOF is holding you back, might be time to reframe that. Yeah. Reframe your view of failure, and instead of seeing it as a reflection of your value and worth, see it as a stepping stone to growth.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was going to say success, but really success is such a
that's so personal and so
yeah. But growth, we can all grow. If we're living, we can be growing.
Right.
No matter our
Hopefully
situation.
We're growing.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
That's the deal. That's why we want to, if I live to be 105, I want to be a curious student. Mm-hmm. I want to keep learning.
Evolving.
Yeah. Another subtle sign that your self-esteem may be lower than you realize is I can't take any kind of criticism.
This is interesting because both ends of the spectrum, if you have low self-esteem, you have trouble accepting praise,
right,
or compliments,
right,
but you also have trouble accepting criticism.
Yeah. And of course, who likes to be criticized, right?
Right.
Okay, so none of us do. However, there's a difference between, not liking it, mm-hmm. and being unwilling or unable to handle it.
Right. And an example that I give a lot. Okay, so I might say to you, your blue hair is ugly, right?
Okay.
Are you offended?
No, because I don't have any blue hair.
Right. So do you see if you get offended or if you have trouble, if you're accepting the criticism, that means on some level you believe it.
Yeah.
You accept it to be true.
You accept it to be true, yeah.
And so it's all an internal game of, okay, then if I am accepting that as true, how is that working out for me?
Yeah.
Right?
So, do you get defensive? Do you find yourself getting defensive or upset, especially when you're in a situation where, maybe it's your boss, maybe it's your instructor, maybe it's your teacher, you know, there's constructive criticism. They're not, you know, nobody is putting you down as a person. They're saying, I wish you would do this or this different, and you find yourself defensive. That could be a sign that your self-esteem is lower than perhaps you think it is. Because when we have low self-esteem, oftentimes we will receive criticism as a direct attack on our worth and value as a person, and it can feel like confirmation of the negative beliefs that we've already got in there. Right. Again, it's all an internal thing. So I think it's important to remember criticism is not an attack on character. It's feedback. It's feedback on what you're doing or your actions or your behavior, and who of us can't improve? Who among us doesn't have room for improvement? Right.
And for me, there's two important things there. So one is kind of like what we talked about last night with our life strategist, to be able to separate the problem or the behavior from the person. Right. So just being able to accept criticism, hey, I didn't, appreciate the way that you said something or the way that you did something. That doesn't mean that your whole being is kaput. Or worthless.
Focus in on the action or the behavior, not on the substance of the person.
Right. Yeah. And then the second important thing to remember is that anything anyone says does way more about them than it does about you.
Amen.
Right?
Amen. Always.
So being able to keep that perspective in mind.
Yeah. Not taking,
and in balance.
Not taking anything, absolutely refusing to take anything personally.
Yep.
Because because
that's the key to self-esteem, right? Because if you have high self-esteem, you're secure in yourself and who you are.
Absolutely. We're talking subtle signs. We're talking subtle signs that your self-esteem may be lower than you realize it is. Talking about that this evening here on Strategies for Living. And we've got more signs to come, so stay with us. You're going to see the difference. When you go to Azalea Cleaners, you'll hear about it too. Azalea Cleaners has been fine dry cleaning since 1958, plus laundry, alterations and repairs, comforters, wedding gown cleaning and restoration. You'll hear about it from your friends because they'll see it too. They'll notice the Azalea difference. Azalea is convenient. 732 Azalea Drive, 9220 Ellerby Road, and 9227 Mansfield Road. Plus, the front door of your home or business with Azalea's delivery on demand. Just text SETUP to 249-8283, and Azalea will pick up your clothes and deliver them back clean and fresh to you. You can't get closer than that. That's the Azalea difference. You'll notice it right away. Others will too. The Azalea difference. Fine dry cleaning since 1958. Text SETUP to 249-8283 and get the Azalea difference. AzaleaCleaners.com. And we're back. We're back with Strategies for Living here on 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Jimmy Bryant, Lauren Leon McMillan, and David McMillan. We're talking about some subtle signs this evening that your self-esteem may be lower than you realize. And we've talked about over-apologizing. We've talked about downplaying achievements. We've talked about negative self-talk. We've talked about fear of failure. We've talked about not able to accept criticism. The next one, it's a small word. Mm-hmm. It's a little word. It's a tiny word. Mm-hmm. Might be one of the smallest words in the English language.
Yeah.
Yeah? No. Mm-hmm. It's why is that little word? No. Yeah, there you go. No. That's right. We did that earlier this week. Why? But why is know. Why is that so hard? Why is that so hard to say for some of us?
Well, if your esteem depends on the external, on others,
Yeah. Yeah.
it would make it very difficult to say no.
Yeah.
Because saying no to others then hacks at your self-esteem.
Hey, there you go.
If that's where you're placing it.
There you go.
Right.
Yeah. So if I'm constantly saying yes, 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 I can do that. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I got that. Oh, yeah. You know, and I'm doing that even for things that obviously I do not want to do and I don't have time to do. Right. And it hurts me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or it hurts me and others that, you know, I'm in relationship with. Then your self-esteem may be lower than you think.
Yeah.
When we constantly put other people's needs before our own, it can lead to feelings of resentment. It can lead to burnout, and deep down, it comes from this, a fear of rejection.
Yeah.
A fear of and a belief that
I have to give up me to be loved by you.
yeah,
Right.
our own needs are not important here. But here's the thing.
They are incredibly important.
At least as important as everybody else.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the balancing act. I mean, you matter. I matter. We all matter. Your needs, your time, your well-being, they're all as important as everybody else's.
Absolutely.
And so we want to try to, you know, that's life, is doing a balancing act, right? But to do that, we've got to be willing to say no to some things.
You got to fill your own cup first.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If you fly and in the unlikely event that the oxygen mask gets deployed? What do they always tell you before the flight? Make sure you put the oxygen mask on yourself before you try to help the people around you. And there's a very good reason for that, because if you can get you okay, then you can help other people too. And that's what people don't understand. You know, sometimes we have to say no. It doesn't make you selfish. It doesn't make you unkind. It means that you're taking care of yourself as much as you're taking care and trying to help other people too, right? It's a balancing act. You know, I think this next one we've been all around it, but I think it's important to say it, and that is, I'm constantly seeking external validation.
Am I doing okay? How am I doing?
How am I doing? Yeah. Am I okay? Is that okay? Did you like that?
Are we sounding okay?
Yeah. You know, a lot of us, and I've been there.
Yep.
We spend a lot of time worrying what other people think of me, and you know, so I'm constantly asking my peers, or my boss, or even strangers, you know, for approval, and it's exhausting.
It is.
It truly is exhausting.
Because each time you ask, you're giving away a piece of yourself.
Yeah. And that constant need for external validation is a sign of low self-esteem. Because, you know, we start to believe that our worth is determined by somebody else. It's determined by somebody else's approval, right?
Right.
And that's a sign of low self-esteem. So the problem is, it puts our self-worth, our self-esteem, our self-value
outside of our own control.
Right, into somebody else's hands.
You're giving away your own power.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And so that, maybe that's what Jesus meant when he was talking about building a house of sand, on sand.
Yeah.
As opposed to building a house, on a strong foundation.
Right. And if you build your house in or on other people, right? I mean, you can't control that.
This takes time. This takes time to really understand. Validation comes from inside. So when you find yourself trying to seek approval from others, shift. Make a shift and look inside, look inward. Validate you. Validate yourself.
Yeah.
It's not easy, but it's an important step toward building a healthier self-esteem.
Right.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of the Dr. Seaman who talked about his young girl asking if, do you love me?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a good example of how to help kids build their own self-esteem. Right.
Yeah.
When they come and they bring you their artwork, of course you want to say, "Oh, that's beautiful. I love it." But how much more powerful is it if you can pause on the praise and ask them, "What do you think?"
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Just to elicit, to begin, eliciting and growing their own ability to, have their own self-esteem built up within themselves.
Absolutely. Do you find yourself avoiding mirrors? That can be a subtle sign of that your self-esteem may be lower. This may be, might seem like a small thing, but it's actually a significant indicator of low self-esteem. If you find yourself avoiding mirrors, or you're feeling uncomfortable when you catch your reflection in, a glass or a mirror, it can be a sign that you're struggling with your self-esteem.
That's a huge one. And there's actually a huge line of therapy for this.
Yeah.
And it's mirror talk.
I'm going to add another one to this.
Okay.
Because I think it's related.
Yeah.
But if you never allow your picture to be taken.
Ooh, yeah, sure.
I mean, I've known people in my life that, I have to fight. I'd have to fight to be able to get a picture. And, after a while, you just go, okay,
Yeah.
But that's a sign that there's something wrong, terribly wrong inside.
Yeah, they don't want to be seen.
Yeah.
They don't feel worthy of being seen.
Yeah.
But, mirror work is where you talk to yourself in the mirror.
Yeah.
You really practice. And that would be a huge turnaround for if you struggle with seeing yourself in the mirror.
We got to get this next one in real quick because we don't have about 30 seconds.
Okay.
Practicing self-care. If you're not practicing self-care, if you're not practicing taking care of you, that
you don't care about you.
It's critical. It's crucial. So if you're putting off taking care of you, whether it's skipping meals, whether it's neglecting exercise, whether it's not getting enough sleep, whether it's not going to the doctor and keeping up with your health, you're saying you don't value you. So not practicing self-care can be a subtle sign of low self-esteem. And we got to leave it right there. But I hope we've unveiled a few signs for us all to think about.
And some strategies along the way.
Because after all, we are strategies for living, and we'll be right back. There's just no place like the Robinson Film Center, 617 Texas Street, downtown Shreveport, robinsonfilmcenter.org. There's always something going on at the Robinson. The Robbies are coming up Saturday, June the 15th, and you can find out all the information on the Robbies at robinsonfilmcenter.org. And, summer film camps are just around the corner, too. They're in June 24th through the 28th. That's Movie Monster Camp. And then July the 8th through the 12th is Suspense Camp. You can find out all about that at robinsonfilmcenter.org. Don't forget Abby Singer's Bistro, second floor, open for lunch and dinner. Join the crowd. Join the fun. Become a member. Get discounts on movies, concession upgrades, and bistro deals at RFC, 617 Texas Street, downtown Shreveport, robinsonfilmcenter.org. And welcome back into Strategies for Living here on 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Lauren and Jimmy and David. And we're talking subtle signs that your self-esteem is lower than you realize. Low self-esteem is not something that can be changed and that you just snap your fingers and you change it overnight. every small step, every strategy you take towards self-compassion brings you closer to a healthier relationship with yourself. That's what self-esteem is.
Yeah.
It's a healthy relationship with yourself. So, when you think about that, the journey, the self-esteem journey is intertwined with self-compassion.
Yes.
Self-compassion is a key.
It's about getting to know yourself and getting to love yourself.
Yes.
That's what it's about.
Yes. Treating yourself with the same kindness, with the same care, with the same understanding that you would any good friend. And so when you notice signs of low self-esteem, instead of getting down on yourself, being hard on yourself,
That's the cycle.
Yeah, pause and give yourself compassion. Offer yourself compassion. Remind yourself that every one of us has moments of doubt, moments of self-doubt, and it's okay. We're not perfect, and we're not supposed to be perfect. We're something called humans.
Amen.
right.
Humans, and there you go. So, hope this helps. These signs that your self-esteem may be lower than you realize. Folks, we appreciate you. We appreciate you being with us here on Strategies for a Living, and we appreciate our sponsors making it all possible. The Robinson Film Center, and Azalea Cleaners, and Pintail Roofing, and Learning RX, and Hempress, Cannabis with Love, and the Shreveport Little Theater. If today were the last day of your life, you only had one more phone call that you could make, who would you call up? What would you say? And why are you waiting? Make the call. For Jimmy Bryant, for PLPC Lauren Leon McMillan, I'm David McMillan. See you next time right here on Strategies for Living.